19th of April, 6 p.m. at Cadogan Hall, will see the world premiere of TEARFLOODS by composer Robin Haigh. Now, I'm very lucky to have Robin here with me to talk about the piece. TEARFLOODS, a very interesting title. What's the piece about?
So basically, I imagined a poetic image for the piece, which is a sort of an alternate mythology where every tear that's ever been cried by humankind flows down beneath the earth to form a kind of a gigantic secret underground sea. And in my idea for the piece, we see a sort of a lone figure traveling over that expanse in a small vessel, and that's the kind of the image that guided me as I was writing the piece.
Wow, that's wonderful. So Miyazaki, very famous in Japan with Studio Ghibli. Is it actually dedicated to him, or is it influenced by him, or a mixture of both?
So I would definitely say it's both. I think Miyazaki is probably, in my opinion, the greatest artist in any medium working today. And I think on one hand I felt I've had a kind of a, since my early teens, I've been a kind of a massive admirer of his. And so on one hand I wanted to sort of finally pay homage to that kind of great reverence I have, but also there's so much that I think in the way one experiences his films that can be translated into music, from the kind of emotional the emotional moments, the various themes, and the kind of textural qualities of the animation all kind of came together and inspired how I approach writing the piece.
Now, in the few bits we've rehearsed so far, I can really feel a Japanese influence. Is that deliberate?
So I think in Miyazaki's films, you get, on one hand, a clear sense of his connection to his own Japanese culture, but also a kind of a great cosmopolitanism. He's very, his kind of love of Europe and sort of cultures from around the world is clear. And so to me, I think I kind of thought of my music in this piece in the same way. I mean, I certainly, in paying tribute to this Japanese filmmaker, I think some element of Japanese qualities of music will have entered my musical language, but also a great number of other things are in there too.
Tell us a bit more about the piece. Obviously it includes Crouch-End Festival Chorus, but who else is involved in the performance? Who are the players, what instruments, that sort of thing?
So there's a kind of unusual chamber orchestra, I guess you could say. When we were coming up with the commission for the piece, you basically gave me the opportunity to decide, on my own, which instruments from a kind of a number of players I was able to pick and choose from that, exactly how I would formulate the orchestra. So I went with a kind of a string nonet, a small kind of wind and brass section, harp, electric guitar, keyboard, and a few percussion.
Wonderful. And how long is the piece?
It's half an hour long, so it's my largest scale piece to date, and also the first time having written a fair few pieces for orchestra now, but this is the first piece that I've kind of designated as a symphony, which it was a decision I took with some care. I feel like this was the kind of scale of piece that deserved that description.
Now, if somebody's watching this interview, can you describe to them what kind of sound world the piece creates? I mean, I've noticed there's quite a lot of what I call underwater sounds, and you recreate that in a fantastic way. Is that deliberate?
Yes, I think I was very much the sounds of water and the sea was very much in my mind. I'd already started composing this piece before I'd kind of settled on the exact kind of title and the exact poetic idea. And at that point, I just was thinking of it as a sea symphony. So those were the textures that were sort of guiding me towards the eventual finished idea for the piece that I arrived at. And I would say that there are lots of unusual instrumental techniques and kind of percussion sounds and vocal techniques as well that all kind of contribute to this kind of almost sort of gelatinous kind of swirling liquid type of sound that I really wanted to explore.
Now, one of the instruments you mentioned earlier is the electric guitar, and it reminds me that you used to be in a rock band, and I've seen a photograph of you with hair down to your waist, which is not as it is now. One of the people playing in the orchestra is Harrison White, who I believe was in a band.
No, it was not just a rock band. It was a progressive death metal band, which is a few levels of extremity beyond a mere rock band. Yeah, I'm really excited that Harrison's going to be joining the ensemble. I think it's a really sort of special story because, you know, Harrison and I were kind of, we were just two teenagers who liked progressive metal music, who happened to go to the same kind of, you know, bog standard sixth form college, and you know, we just decided to make a band together. Didn't have too much success with it, but kind of stayed friends ever since. And you know, he's had enormous success since. You know, he plays keyboards with the band Leprous, who are one of the biggest progressive metal bands going today. And I'm doing what I'm doing, and you know, all over, I think, you know, well over a decade since we were last kind of working on something together musically. It's great that he will be providing the electric guitar playing in this piece.
The people who come to this concert, many of them know the choir really well, and they have expectations of what a choir sounds like. What is it in your music which will surprise them? What kind of sounds does the choir make which will make them sit up and think, I haven't heard that before?
So in this piece, the choir is really kind of integrated into the orchestra. So rather than, as is the case with many works, there being a sense of a choir doing one thing and the orchestra back up doing another thing, in this piece I was very much thinking of one kind of great organism of which the choir is a part. So the choir will join in with kind of the strings playing glissandi and kind of microtonal bending, and all sorts of unusual techniques like that will find their way to create this sound build I was looking for.
So it's a little bit sort of Ravel, Daphnis and Chloe, Vaughan Williams' Sinfonia Antarctica, where the choir and the orchestra are all as one. Now here's an odd question for you, Robin. Would you rather people like your music, or another way of looking at it, they rate it really highly? Which would you prefer?
It's difficult to pick one or the other. I think just knowing that people are listening to it is enough for me. I think what opinion a person has of the piece is their own business. But I certainly, when I write music, I don't want it to be hateable or sort of unpleasant, an unpleasant experience. I want it to be enriching and to give people sort of strength to deal with the problems in their lives, if that's not too kind of grandiose a way of looking at what I'm doing. So I think that's come one.
No, that's lovely. When you were sitting there in the first performance, are you able to sit and relax and enjoy it, or are you kind of sitting there shaking in your boots?
I think nowadays, I do tend to sit back and enjoy. I think certainly, you know, when I was kind of first having my first few performances in kind of more professional settings, I think I was kind of, you know, worrying about how the piece was coming across at every 10 seconds or something. But now I think I have a lot more of a sense of just, okay, the thing that I did all this work on is finally traveling into other people's ears as well as my own. There's something kind of really big about that. And, you know, I get to be a part of something with a whole room full of people rather than just on my own. And that's quite a special moment.
That's great. Well, I'm really looking forward to performing it, and I hope that everybody in the audience enjoys it as much as we do. Thank you.